hard-working old man. In a quiet corner of India, nestled between sun-drenched fields of wheat and golden mustard, lay the village of Dharmapur. Life here moved slowly, like the gentle current of the river Yamini that ran through its heart. The villagers were humble folks, farmers, potters, tailors, but none were more respected than old man Ramu. Ramu wasn't born rich, nor did he ever become rich in terms of wealth, but he was rich in something far more valuable: grit. At 78, his hands were calloused, his back slightly bent, and his skin weathered like aged leather. But his eyes, they sparkled with purpose. Every morning, before the sun even kissed the rooftops, Ramu would wake up. He would light an oil lamp, perform a short prayer to the gods, and step out into the crisp air with his rusted sickle and a sack of seeds. His farm was 2 miles away, and he walked every step of it, never once asking for a lift or complaining. Children would watch him pass by and whisper, "How does he do it every day?" Elders would shake their heads in admiration, but Ramu never sought praise. He worked because that's what he knew. It was his way of showing love to the land, to life, and to the generations watching him silently. Ramu wasn't always alone. Decades ago, he had a wife, Sita, and a young son, Manav. The three lived in a small thatched hut, and while money was tight, joy wasn't. Sita would pack him lunch wrapped in banana leaves, and Manav would chase after him through the fields, pretending to be a farmer himself. But life has its storms. In the monsoon of 1987, the river Yamini flooded its banks. It raged like a beast, swallowing homes, fields, and lives. Ramu lost his crop that year. That would have been manageable. But the fever that followed claimed both Sita and Manav within weeks. The loss nearly broke him. People said he stopped talking for months. He'd go into the field, sit in the middle of the dried up soil, and stare into the horizon. The village feared he'd given up. But one morning, just as the village temple bells rang, Ramu was seen digging, alone, with red eyes and trembling hands. He began plowing the field again. One neighbor offered help. Ramu shook his head. "This land took everything," he said, "but I will not let it take me." And so he began again. Years passed. Ramu worked tirelessly. He never remarried. Instead, he poured all his energy into helping the children of the village. If a family couldn't afford school fees, Ramu would work their fields for free in exchange for their child's education. If someone needed a hand fixing a roof or lifting heavy loads, Ramu would be there. Over time, people stopped calling him just Ramu. He became Kaka uncle to all. He didn't have much. His shirt was always the same faded white cotton, and his shoes had holes in them. But he was never without a smile. A boy once asked him, "Kaka, why do you smile even when your life is so hard?" Ramu replied, "Because smiling is easier than giving up." When Ramu turned 70, the government offered him a pension. Most people would have retired, but not him. "I still have 2 hands, 2 legs, and a heart that beats. That's all a man needs," he said. But life had one more test in store. One year, Dharmapur was hit by a drought. Crops failed, wells dried up. People began leaving for cities in search of work, but Ramu stayed. He dug a trench on his land to harvest rainwater. Day after day, under the scorching sun, with blisters on his hands, he worked alone. When asked why, he said, "If I don't do this now, what will your children eat tomorrow?" Inspired, the youth of the village joined him. Together, They dug rainwater pits, restored wells, and saved the last bits of green left in Dharmapur. When the next rains came, Ramu's fields were the first to turn green. He didn't say, "I told you so." He simply handed over some harvested grains to the local school and said, "For the midday meal." One fine morning, a black SUV rolled into the village. Out came a man in a suit, sharp, confident, and teary-eyed. He walked straight to Ramu, who was sitting under a banyan tree, peeling groundnuts. It was Dr. Manav Sharma, one of India's top scientists. As cameras flashed and villagers gathered in confusion, he knelt before Ramu and touched his feet. Everyone was stunned. "Who is he?" someone whispered. With a trembling voice, Manav said, "I was an orphan raised in Dharmapur. My parents died when I was 5. This man, Ramu Kaka, paid for my schooling by working double shifts on the field. I am who I am because of him." Tears flowed freely. News channels picked up the story. "The farmer who built futures," read one headline. The government awarded Ramu the Padma Shri for his service to rural development. But when offered a chance to live in the city with Manav, Ramu declined. "This is my soil. My story belongs here." Ramu didn't change after the fame. He still woke up before sunrise, still walked 2 miles to his field, still offered his first mangoes to the temple priest. But now, he had company. Children began spending their evenings with him, listening to stories of resilience, watching him plant seeds, and learning that hard work wasn't just about muscles, it was about heart. Ramu would tell them, "Every seed you plant is a promise, not just to the soil, but to your own soul." He started a small initiative called Har Bacha Kisan, Every Child a Farmer, where he taught children how to grow vegetables in their backyards, even in small pots. It wasn't just about farming, it was about responsibility, patience, and belief in growth. At the age of 82, one cold winter morning, Ramu didn't show up in the field. The village panicked. They ran to his hut and found him lying peacefully on his cot, his hands folded, a small smile on his face. Beside him was a note. "If I have one wish, it is this: that you never stop working hard, that you never give up on your land, your dreams, or yourself. I came into this world empty-handed. I leave with a heart full of love and a land full of crops. That is enough." The entire village gathered to say goodbye. They didn't build a statue for Ramu. Instead, they built a school named Ramu Kaka Vidyalaya, where every child was taught not just mathematics and science, but the values of discipline, empathy, and hard work. Years passed, but Ramu's story remained alive in every grain grown in Dharmapur. His trench became a model for water conservation across districts. His teachings became part of state curriculum. His name was whispered in the winds that brushed the crops, sung in the lullabies of mothers, and etched in the hearts of thousands. But perhaps his greatest legacy wasn't the work he did, it was the belief he left behind. That even a broken man can rebuild, that age is never a barrier to purpose, and that the hardest soil often grows the strongest roots.